Hey guys, this is Tia and I'm back with a step-by-step gel dip manicure tutorial. So let's jump right into the video. Tip number one, start with good products and make sure you prep your station. You should have all of your essentials, the tools that you're going to need within arm reach. You don't want to have something over here, something over there, something downstairs. So, so make sure that you prep your station. Lay a towel down, lay a paper towel down. You can even lay down newspaper or even like a paper plate, just so that you can sort of catch any fallout. And then you also want to make sure that you're starting with good products as well. Like, do your research. Try different products out and make sure that the products that you're trying out actually paired well with your natural body chemistry. Because sometimes what may work on one person may not work for another person. So you want to make sure that the products that you're using are really products that are tailored for you. So test different products out to see which ones, sort of fit better with your natural nail or with your lifestyle. And again, make sure that you're prepping your station. Here's a bonus tip for you. Make sure that you prep your nails, either doing a dry manicure, or you can actually do a wet manicure, but you want to make sure that you're prepping your nails and you're prepping your nails for your dip manicure. Remove any dry skin, any hangnails. You want to make sure you're also shaping your nails as well. You want to make sure that you remove any protein, trim back any cuticles. Make sure that your nails, that you're prepping your nails. Like, make sure you see what the shape that you want while you're in the prepping phase, because this is going to aid in your ability to maintain your manicure. The second tip that I have for you would be primer. And when I say priming your nails, I mean, not only using alcohol to wipe down the natural nail plate, but make sure you have a really good primer. And again, having good products definitely will aid in your ability to maintain your dip manicure, but you will also like your dip manicure. So make sure you're priming your nails, okay? So my next tip number 3, would be build a natural curve. A lot of us have natural curved nails or slightly curved nails, but some of us don't. We want to sort of create that curvature. So make sure that you're building your apex and you're building it in the middle. If you start too far or too close to the cuticle, it's going to look like you have a hump. And if you start too low at the bottom, it's going to look like you have a speed bump. So you want to make sure that you're starting somewhere in the middle or just shy of the middle, just to create a natural looking curve. Again, you're not trying to have Humpty Dumpty nails and you're not trying to have speed bump nails. You want something that is aesthetically pleasing. And part of that would be making sure that when you're doing your initial dip, that you're starting at that midpoint. And if you have issues with, let's just say, staining, then I would say do your half dip first, and then do a full dip. Do a full dip of clear straight down the center, right? Avoid your side walls and also avoid the cuticle. So go, maybe 3/4 of the way. Then on top of that, you want to go halfway down to build the apex. What that does is it kills two birds with one stone. It allows you to prevent any staining that you may get, but then it also allows you to create that natural curve. Now, my next tip, tip number 4, is count your layers. And this is something that I do a lot. And because I apply so many layers, sometimes you can sort of forget your placement. So I like to take my towel or my newspaper, and I like to count, or at least trace out, write out the number of layers that I'm applying. And I will strike through the layers as I go. So I just created the half dip, right? So I just did that first layer. So I'm gonna go ahead and cross out that 0.5, because that 0.5 for me has already taken place. If you are someone like me who I can get distracted and then I'm like, shoot, okay, what layer was this? And I'm now trying to retrace my steps by doing this, and just remembering as soon as I start my next layer, in many cases, I'm already like, okay, strike through that, move to the next. You get what I'm saying? Like, as soon as it's, I got to do it that way. I either start and scratch, or what I will do is at the end of that particular dip, then I'll strike through. But you just got to just remember your placement. My next tip that I have for you is staggering your layers. And when I say stagger, I mean this. When you apply your first clear layer, half layer of dip powder, you're going to put your brush down slightly behind the beginning of the last layer. Okay, so like you put that half layer down, and you're going to go a smidget in front of, you're going to push it up just slightly and start your next layer slightly behind where you last left off. That's what staggering is. And I promise you, it will help aid in your curve. It's also going to help with the bulk, because oftentimes we want the strength, the retention, to be in that sort of center part right there. That right there around the circumference of the actual natural nail, minus the free edge. You want that product there. And by staggering your layers, you can ensure that that product is right there. And now you have the retention to absorb any type of shock, any type of hit, you can, not all, but some, you can really, like the day to day, you accidentally hit your hand on, I don't know, the doorknob. If you don't have the right product placement, you can experience shattering or cracking. So by staggering your layers, it allows you to place your product and to distribute the product appropriately so that you have retention and strength. My next tip, tip number 6, is track your layers for improvement. The reason why I say that is this. Sometimes when, especially if you're new to dip, you may start out with 3.5 layers. And in that, the 3.5 layers, you go, let's just say 5 days, 10 days, and you're noticing that maybe you're experiencing some cracking. Maybe you're experiencing some shattering. If you track the amount of layers you did from your last dip manicure, and you say to yourself, okay, I did 3.5 layers on September 10th. It's now September 20th. I noticed I had a little bit of shattering. I think I'm gonna add another layer. You want to make sure that you're finding your sweet spot with your dip on your dip, journey, because everyone's dip layer application and results and layers are going to be different. If someone has let's just say you have someone that has like if you're a person that has a strong natural nail, like your natural nails really don't break, you don't have any issues with any thin, very flexible nails, then maybe you can get away with 2.5 layers. But the person on, just say, across the street from you may be a 10-year acrylic, nail wearer, and now they're transitioning from that type of service to dip, and they're doing it themselves. They may want a 4.5, 5.5 layer dip application, because that's going to give you more of a traditional acrylic consistency than, let's just say, someone that's wearing 2.5 layers, because that would be more like a gel polish. You get what I'm saying? Because it's going to be somewhat flexible. But if their nails are strong, they can resist that flexibility. So you just want to make sure that you're tracking your layers for improvement based on your lifestyle and seeing what works best for you. My next tip number 7, is fix your mistakes. Fix your mistakes while your mistakes are wet. It's still moldable. They have not set or settled. It's easier to do so. And in many cases, it will definitely help on the back end when you get to the shaping and filing phase. You won't have all of that to do. And as you're dipping, especially if you have a ripple or wave, or even, let's just say, some product that may be old, that is gathered and maybe clumped up on top of your hand, you want to fix that immediately while it's wet. Because if you let it dry, what's going to happen is it's going to create a bigger mistake. that wave is going to become bigger, especially if that wave happened at like layer 1 and you're going to apply 5 more layers. Each layer that you apply thereafter will have that wave pattern, and the wave will get bigger. And so now, before you even file or apply that clear coat on top, you're going to have to file your nails down. Well, here's what happens. Once you start filing your nail down, especially pigment to file, and there's no clear coat there, you're going to file off that pigment. And now you're going to have to file your nails down a little further, basically another layer off, to add a layer back so that you can camouflage that ripple. So just fix your mistakes as you go. I promise you, it will make your life a lot easier. My next tip number 8, is dust off at the end. If you notice, I will dip my finger into the powder, tap off the excess, and go to the next finger. I want that powder to have enough time to bond with that base coat. If you're using gel, similar thing. You want to dip your finger into the powder and then cure your nails and then dust off. I like to do the entire hand, then I like to dust. If you struggle with your nails, dusting your nails too early, it can start to clump up, to crumble up, to fall off, and it will also start to clump up on your brush. And if you don't get that acrylic off before it really settles down, you could find yourself not having any mistakes or damage to your dip nails. But because that dip powder has now dried on the brush, when you go to dust your hands off, because it's still pliable and moldable, you're going to find that you're going to be moving and separating that product and basically creating indentations that you don't want. So I always suggest doing your entire hand and then start dusting from the place of where you started your dip manicure, the first finger. So if you start, your first finger is your pinky, then you want to start dusting once you've completed your whole hand. Go back to the first finger, start with the pinky finger, start the dust, so by the time you get to your thumb, which was the last finger that you dipped, it would be settled and firm enough to take the dusting piece. My next tip number 9, no flooding. Right here on this nail, I got a little flooding. I got a little product back on my cuticle on the side walls, and it's just a little too much for me. So I'm going to take the back of my cuticle pusher and I am going to start to remove that product off of my cuticle line. So that, again, when I start the filing process, I'm not filing my skin. You don't want to file your skin. Again, I will go back and do that to all of my nails just so I can just separate if I got any product back there. And sometimes it does happen. So you just want to make sure that you either take the back of your wooden stick or your cuticle pusher and just remove and separate that product a little bit before it actually settles too. If you experience lifting from the cuticle area, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's because you either A, flooded the cuticle, and as such, you're not filing the product and blending it in with the natural nail, and it's no real grip, or there's nothing that's really pulling it down because it can't sit, that product can't sit on skin because skin secretes oil. And so you're going to lift, your nails are going to constantly lift if you're putting your product on the actual, cuticle skin. It's going to lift up. So you always want to make sure that you're cleaning that up as you go along. It just makes the process a lot easier, and you will definitely love your dip manicure after that. So my next tip number 10, is you want to seal the pigment. If you have, outside of just using clear, anything that has pigment in it, you want to make sure you're sealing it with a clear dip powder. This is a non-negotiable for me. I think that it, especially if you're filing your nails and you have the pigment, you want to make sure that you're sealing your nails. This will definitely pay off in the end, in my opinion, because you won't have those faded spots from filing off the pigment. It'll be even, color payoff, it'll be bold, it'll be vibrant, and in my opinion, I find that the clear polish just really preserves the pigment in such a way that you can't get it with just the top coat. I'm sorry, just with the top coat, yeah. You can't get it adds a little extra oomph to your nails. So don't skip that step. And if you see that it's a little wet, dip it back into the powder. Your nails are saying, hey, I need a little bit more powder. It's a little bit too much base coat. So I'm not going to properly absorb. I've already absorbed this powder. I need some more. I need some more. Dip your finger back into the powder and let it sit and settle for a second. And then you dust. My next tip number 11, is use the bond, use the activator. You have to activate your nails if you want to be able to work and file your nails within the next, I would say, 3 minutes. You don't have to apply the bond, but you're going to have to wait at least 15 to 20 minutes for your nails to actually, really fuse together. And in some cases, it may be about 30 minutes. You may have to just wait for that product to actually harden. So use the bond, use the activator. It is going to give you a stronger result, and it allows you to work on your nails quicker. Trust me. My next tip number 12, is use grit textures of 100 or greater. Okay? Some of y'all are using the wrong file and it's not working. It's too harsh. You need nothing lower than a 100 because it's going to take off too much product. You don't want that. Next, when you're using the 100 side, tip number 13, that is to remove bulk. That is to remove bulk. So if you have too much product on the side, too much product over here in the front, then you use the 100 side. That's only, in my opinion, to be used for bulk remover. When I say bulk, I mean like if you have one side that may have more product than the other, use that to remove that bulk. Once you've done that, tip number 14 is you're going to use the 180 side to remove the texture. And I use my 180 side the most. This is also applicable to an E-file. If you have an E-file, those grits, shaping, smoothing, sanding grits should be 100 for bulk, 180 for removing texture. Also, the 180 side will be your friend when you are really, really shaping and edging your cuticle and side walls. That 180 allows you to get close. It doesn't allow you to remove too much. See, that 100 will allow you to remove that bulk. That means it's going to take off a lot of product. The 180 is going to remove the texture, but you're going to have to work for it because it's not going to come off that quick. So for every, let's just say, one stroke you get on the 100 side, you probably have to do 5 to 6 strokes on the 180 side to get the same result. So that's why it allows you to remove the texture, smooth it out, edging, but you're not taking off too much product. You still have it. And once I shape and start my shaping process, and see how you can see right there, that nail was bumpy at first. Like I had, too much product. And I do this a lot of times. I try to do my nails as if I'm an amateur. And that's easy to do for me. And I'm showing you real time the different sides and what they should be used for. 180, texture, smoothing, edging, finishing up, polishing that free edge. Only use that 100 side when you're removing bulk. That nail pretty, she pretty. My next tip number 15, buffer grit 200 greater. Your buffer should be at, I would say, at least a 220, 240. You can even go up to a 260. I think that it really does, the proper buffer can really take your dip manicure and make and take it from looking like it's like a dull polish to gel. The right buffer. The right buffer is going to smooth that entire surface as if it was glass or ice. It's going to be smooth as hell if you get the right one. When you apply that top coat at the end, night and day results. You may have last week had clear grits on the top of your nails with your dip powder. With the right buffer after this video, it's going to look like you went and got your nails done. You sat there professionally, got your nails done. You got a massage. They serve tea in the salon. Like, it's going to look like you went and had an experience. And you did. You experienced what having the right buffer and tool will do to your nails. You can always tell the difference between the grit. When you rub your finger, if it feels too grainy, too coarse, that means that it's going to be, an 80, a 90, or 100. If the buffer has a very soft texture to it, you want to grab one of those. You want to feel the other one. See if that has a little bit more grit to it. Grab that one. You want to have a couple. But you definitely don't want a buffer that's in the 100s and or below. It will mess all your work up. And it will all be for that. My next tip number 16, would be to wash your hands and make sure that you wipe your hands down with some alcohol. As you can see on my right hand, I have some loose particles there, some powder still on my arm and my hand, and you don't want any debris to be on your nails when you're applying gel. So my next tip number 17, would be to clear your station and prep it for your gel station. So you should have your lamp, you should have your acetone, a little Q-tip, your base coat, and your top coat, so that you can start your gel application. This is the last phase of this particular dip application that I'm showing you, dip manicure, and you always want to make sure that you're starting with your base coat. And I'm going to apply one layer of the base coat, and then I'm going to cure my nails for 60 seconds. My next tip for you, tip number 18, is when you're applying your gel polish, you want to make sure that you're pushing the gel back into the cuticle and then pulling it down to the free edge. You never want to start too close to the cuticle line in the beginning, because you don't want to apply all of that product. That product is definitely going to flood your cuticle area, and it's going to make your dip application look very amateur. So always push your product into the cuticle area and let it fall, let gravity take over, let it fall in its natural place. It will definitely pay off in the end. Always cap and sweep your free edge when you are doing your nails. See how I just did that? Push that product into that cuticle area. Make sure you are taking your time when you're going down and around your side walls, and always seal that free edge. Also, make sure you cure your nails for 60 seconds between each gel layer. My next tip, tip number 19, would be apply 2 layers of the top coat, gel polish. Now, if you suffer from, cracking, shattering, you definitely want to switch to gel at the end to finish off your dip manicure. It adds those 3 layers of gel, the 1 layer of base, and then the 2 layers of top coat gel glaze will definitely add some strength to your dip manicure, and it will give you a beautiful result. It will look like you have gel polish over top of a clear application. In all honesty, you don't. You have dip powder and you finish it off with gel, and it's going to look so pretty when you do it. Now, my gel glaze is slightly thicker than the base coat, but that was on purpose and by design, because I wanted to make sure that my gel polish had some integrity to it and that it provided the added strength without giving me the bulk that I didn't want. So make sure that when you're putting your product down, that you're pushing that product into that cuticle area, taking your time, coming down the side walls, not trying to flat those, and always sweeping the free edge. You're going to cure each layer for 60 seconds under your lamp. My next tip, tip number 20, apply gel to that free edge. A lot of times when I see some people doing their nails, they just polish down. They don't sort of do the sweep. The sweeping for me adds as 2 benefits. Number 1, there is pigment on and near your free edge, because again, you just dipped your nail in dip powder that has pigment in it. So you want to make sure that you're sealing that pigment, because you don't want that rubbing off or transferring to your clothes or any papers and things of that nature. But then also too, by sweeping that free edge with that gel, you're creating an additional barrier so that when you're grabbing, especially if you're grabbing papers or grabbing objects and you have a tendency for reshaping your nails just through natural activity, having that extra gel on the free edge will benefit you from having your nails either sort of lift or sort of separate in that area, in that region. So that's why I like to add the gel there and sweep that free edge. I don't want to, have that pigment rub off. And then 2, I'm also trying to add as much strength that I can to my dip manicure set, especially in the front, so that it lasts longer. My last and final tip for you would be make sure that you're applying lotion or some type of oil-based moisturizer and cuticle oil. This is a step that I do after every manicure, and I also apply my oils and cuticle oils to my hand at night, because again, you want to make sure that you have enough moisture in your hands, because our hands especially go through it. And just with all of the hand sanitizing we've been doing and the washing we've been doing, you want to make sure that you're replenishing and healing that skin with some moisture. So use, if you make your own lotions, great. If you have a special oil or healing ointment that you prefer, use it. But I like to really get in there with a nice saturating oil or lotion and really hydrate my hand. Oh, and here's another tip. You can, when I am applying my night treatment to my skin, to my face, and I'm using different types of, serums, what I will then do is I'm not going to wash my hands and wash those sort of anti-aging, anti-wrinkle serums off my hand. I'm going to actually fold that in and rub that into the skin and then seal that with a little Vaseline on top, just so that I can now add the same benefit that I'm getting to my, my face to my hands. So that's a bonus little tip for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until we meet again, keep dipping. Bye guys.